Hey folks, Ty Cohen here, and we're back with another amazing interview. I've got someone that I've followed for an incredible amount of time, and I think you're going to really love this. No matter where you're at right now, whether you're just starting a business, whether you're publishing on Kindle, whether you're an affiliate marketer, whether you're someone who has thought about starting a business, you are going to love this interview. And as a matter of fact, this is one that I kind of set up for my own selfish reasons because I like listening to this gentleman that you'll be hearing from soon. Every time I listen to him, I get like $100,000 idea. And I hate saying that in front of him because the next time I meet, I'll probably have to write him a check. But before we get started, remember, we give away some awesome cash and prizes for being subscribers and members of our community. So I've got the Apple AirPods here. I've got an Apple Watch here. We've got a couple of MacBook Airs that we're actually giving out this month. We've got a rose gold one. And I don't know if you guys can see that. And then we have a silver one here. And then we also have some amazing, as always, Amazon gift cards. So we give these things out in denominations of $25 up to $500. And here's how you win. So there's 4 ways that you can win. The first is by subscribing to the YouTube channel or to the podcast. You can go over to kindlecashflow.com/YouTube to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And to subscribe to the podcast, you can go to kindlecashflow.com/podcast. So that's the first way. By subscribing, you get to be entered to win some amazing prizes like the stuff that I just shared with you and more. Now, the second way is just by commenting. So anything that we share in this interview or on any of the other content that I've shared in the past, you go in and you can comment. Doesn't matter if it's something that's recently been shared or if you come in and you comment a year later, because we randomly come in, we select people from time to time. So that's the second way, just by going in and commenting. The third way is by sharing, right? If you find something that I've posted or some content that I've shared and you appreciate it and you see some value, go in and share it as well. Now, the fourth way is by making sure that you go in and hit the subscribe bell notification on the YouTube channel, all right? So doing any one of those will enter you in to actually win some of these amazing prizes. Doing all of them will enter you in multiple times. So with that said, I want to get started. And I also want to remind you guys to pick up a copy of my new book, Kindle Publishing Secrets. You can get a free copy by going to kindlecashflow.com. I've put everything that I know about building out digital publishing businesses over the last decade or so into this book. I've also interviewed some of my top students and my top coaches, guys that are making tens of thousands of dollars a month. And I jam-packed their best secrets into this book as well. So you can get a copy by going to kindlecashflow.com. So now that I'm out of breath, we're going to go over and we're going to interview the man of the hour. So again, Kindler Nation, I want to welcome to the show someone who I have followed for, well over 15 years. And someone that I think is one of the masters of internet marketing who has had a major influence not only on my life, like as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, but also on the lives of many others, like many of the big names that you see out there today, including like ClickFunnels founder Russell Brunson. Russell says that this guy here has helped him to generate millions and millions of dollars by using one little known secret called the stack, right? And if you're wondering what the stack is and how it's made Russell millions of dollars, we'll talk about that later on as well. So stay tuned. Now, this guy's done it all. He has, done it all from developing best-selling software programs to selling millions and millions of dollars by speaking and selling from the stage, right? It doesn't stop there. To authoring a best-selling book, Success Leaves Traces, doesn't stop there. To having one of the best coaching programs on the planet, all right, to being one of the first to hold a series of mega attended internet marketing seminars and conferences with his big seminar conferences, and even releasing a country album under the alias Michael Lee Austin. All right, I want to welcome to the show Mr. Armand Morin. Man, I get tired and exhausted just talking about all the stuff that you've done. Like,
well, I mean, I listen to it, I'm like, oh man, that's me.
Sometimes you forget all the crazy stuff, right? That you've done, all the impactful stuff. So listen, sometimes people have a hard enough time just doing like one of those things.
Sure.
that you've done? I think they've all been mega things and huge things and things that have had a lot of impact on people's lives. Like I said, including mine and many of the people that our audience has heard about. The first question that I want to ask is,
Sure.
where do you find the time to do it all?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest question for everyone, right? Is the time factors. How do you separate and try to do all these different things? And, for me, it's a matter, I was one of those guys that didn't want to live by a schedule. I'm like, oh man, that's for nerds. I don't want to have a schedule to control my life. I'm in control of it. And now I kind of live and die by a schedule for the most part, at least during the day.
Right.
During the day, but there's free time. So what I do is I divide my day up, and I have certain times between, let's say, 9 and 11. That's my free time. I can get started in the morning. I can get to work on the things that I like. Those are the things that I really, really work on. And the reason it's at 9 is because usually in the morning at 7:30, I go to work out and stuff like that. So that's when, by the time I get back, take a shower, grab something to eat, then I have like that time 9 to 11. And then at 11:30, I actually have a daily meeting with my team. I answer any kind of questions that people ask me. So for example, you said, I've had a coaching, program for a long time. And it's true. I still have one of the longest running internet marketing coaching programs in history. It's been going now for 17 years. And, but one of the pieces of that is that I allow people to send me in any questions. So I will personally answer them. So the way I handle that is that at 11:30 every day, my team gathers all the questions, and then they send me a list, and I rattle off the answers, and then they send them out to everybody. So we do that at 11:30. Usually takes half hour, 45 minutes. But then after that, I've got this free time. So from there to 2 is when I work on my projects. And then usually between 12, 1, 2 is usually if I do interviews, somewhere in that span. And then typically at 3 to 4 o'clock or 3 or 4 o'clock, I'm doing trainings, live trainings. For my group, it could be a website interview, it could be a weekly training, it could be a monthly seminar that we do for our group. And then after that, that kind of brings me to like 5 or 6 o'clock or so. And then what happens is I eat, and this is where I make up the time, is that I eat, relax with my family till they go to bed, which is typically 9:30, and then I work after that. I come back to it. And people think, well, don't you just live and die for work? And it's like, well, what else am I going to do? First of all, I love what I do. It's not work to me anymore. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's true. I love it. I love figuring out something that maybe no one's ever done before. I love figuring out something that is going to double or triple my business. I'll tell you, my night last night was boring, man. It was horrible. I'm working on this email delivery. Okay. And I found this new system that would allow me to see in depth, in detail, where my emails are all going. And I had to set it up. But in order to set it up, I had to download 300 different files from 300 different emails. Wow. So I literally went down through for like an hour going open, download, open, download, open, download, and just went through this whole process. Like, it was boring, but in the end, it gave me all these details. And one of the things that I found from that was that I had part of my domain set up wrong. And wow. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've sent out, like, for example, through that one IP address, I sent out maybe, 20,000 emails through that one IP as an example over the course of like a day or 2 days. But I discovered that like half of them didn't go through. Wow. So I could see that. So was it worth it, that hour or so? 100%. It was just crazy. But I think really the key to timing is making the time and setting yourself up to succeed rather than setting yourself up to fail. But it's according to how you feel. And also, here's the most important part, is giving yourself the opportunity to walk away from it as well too.
Yes, I think that's important. I'm so glad that you said that, because a lot of entrepreneurs, there's always something that goes wrong in business.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that yesterday. Like, I had an issue also similar. I'm like being an entrepreneur is not for the weak at heart, right? So it's not for the faint at heart at all. So I'm so glad that you said that you also have a schedule. I actually heard you say that a couple of years ago, and I thought that was interesting because we've got a few similarities. Like I stopped working at Walgreens Pharmacy after working there over a decade because I hated the 9 to 5. Like I hated going in. But then as I became an entrepreneur, I found that the most successful people like yourself, they actually have a schedule, but it's a schedule that helps them with productivity and moving up the next ladder, right? Like up to the next level. And even myself, like if I have to have everything on the calendar.
Yeah.
I find that when I have it on the calendar, it gets done.
Yeah.
But if I have like these days when it's just free, I freestyle and nothing happens.
Yeah. Well, what happens though is you have to, I think there's two things. Number one is that you have to follow your schedule, what works for you. So some people love waking up at, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's when they work best. Many times I go to bed at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because late in the night is when I actually get my best ideas. And that's just how I'm wired, and that works best for me. A couple months ago, there was this video going around about Mark Wahlberg's schedule, his workout schedule, and he wakes up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and he works out.
That.
Yeah, and it was like this big thing. It's like, oh, he's a beast, but he also goes to bed at 7:30. So, so it's just kind of shifting that time frame, around the clock to make it work for you, really. But also, I think within those time frames that you work, what I also do is I call it my my index card system. Is everything that I'm working on, I write down. First, I map out exactly all the different pieces that I need to do on that project. So maybe it's developing a piece of software as an example. So I'm thinking, here's all the different things I've got to do. I put them into chronological order. And then I break them down into index cards of maybe like 8 or 10 each. And they're kind of in order like that. So then the next project that I'm working on, so I put them on index cards as well. And some of them might be only one index card, something that I have to do today. So I put these index cards, and on the left side of my desk is I have these index cards. So I pull out the index card, I put it in front of me, and I kind of prop it up. And then I pick something from that list that I have to do, hopefully in the order that I'm doing it. But typically it's going to be at the number one thing, because the way I've structured it is that I can't go to number 2 unless I do number 1. So I'm only focused on one thing at a time. That's how I'm doing it. So once I finish that project or that task, I cross it out physically, and then I move that card over to the right. Now, the reason I move the card might not be because I finished it. It's because my brain can't take any more thinking on it. So that could be 15 minutes until I feel, that sense of frustration where you're not really going to get anywhere.
Yep.
Well, I try to cut it off before that, and then I move it over. But then instead of me kind of goofing off or doing something else, I simply grab a different index card. Because what I learned, so technically, clinically, I have ADHD. Technically, clinically, I have, OCD. So in order to keep my brain functioning the proper way is I need to keep new things in front of it. It's not that I'm tired of working. It's that I'm tired of working on that one thing. So some subjects, it might be 15 minutes, and then I move on to the next subject. So this whole stack allows me to keep going forward on something else. So this one might be 90 minutes. I might be able to focus in on for that time frame, and then I move it over. And then the next task, I might go maybe 15 minutes, and that's all I can take, and then I move over. And then that allows me to always progress and go forward. But it also allows me to go through things faster. And the way I started that was because I was developing a big piece of software with so many different moving pieces. I needed to kind of keep track of it. But what I discovered was that by using that system, that simple system, is that I could get so much done so much faster. So when I really have a lot of things that I'm working on, I use that and I bang it out really fast.
Very cool. So, man, let me show you something, right?
Yeah.
I want to show you something here. I know you've made millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars, right? And the success leaves clues, right, is one of your things. And we're going to talk about that. Traces, right.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
I've got the index cards going, man. So that means that, I'm on my way there.
I'm at a different desk other than I work at, but I've got gridded index cards. I've got blank index cards. I've got lined. I got big ones, small ones. And so I literally just have this 3-step system. It starts from over here into the middle of what I'm working on, and then over here. And then once I'm finished a project, I cross them all out, I toss it away.
Man, isn't it amazing like how simple that is? I heard you talk about this.
Yeah.
And so it's no coincidence that I have index cards. I've been using them for a few years. I think we were out in Arizona at an event that you were having, and we all went to dinner, and you were talking about this. This was maybe your, what seminar was it that you did out there?
Yeah, it's probably when we started doing our new complete seminars, I think it was. Or
Yep, it was. We all went to dinner, and I remember you talking about this, and I said, "Oh my God, that is so simple, but it's so profound." Because, you know, I used to have the issue of my brain just racing. Right, you've got so many different things, like you said, and I found that similar to what you said. If you write them down, what I do is what I need to get done for the day goes on the index card.
Yep.
And that way I can go in and I can check them off and everything else. So I think that is amazing. Something else that you just talked about is you said that, so with your coaching program, your students can submit questions, and then your team will go in and organize those questions, get them over to you, and then you're getting the answers back to your team.
Yep.
You've been doing this for like coaching, right? For well over a decade before the coaching word became like a buzzword, and now everyone's a coach. How do you do that? Like, as far as getting the answers back to people, are you recording the answers and then your team goes back and sends it back? Or
we're actually doing it live. So they send me the answers. I have a list every day. Like, for example, I've got questions today that that we didn't have a chance to do a call today. So they send me all the questions and I'll just respond back. But typically they'll send me the questions. I'll read the question and then dictate the answer to them. And so then they'll type out the answer.
Gotcha. And that's one of those selfish questions that I'm asking for myself because, you know, I've got a coaching program, a couple of different coaching programs, and I find that that's the most overwhelming part.
Yeah, what you'll find out though is, you know, when I say that I offer every one of my students that ability to personally ask me questions, you would think that I would be doing questions all day long. And the reality is I have to beg them to take advantage of this. Is please send me your questions. I tell them, don't buy anything without asking me. Don't run any ads without pushing them in front of me and let me see them. Don't create a PowerPoint without running it through. And, you know, for example, I did have a student the other day send me their PowerPoint for a webinar that they're going to do. And so they sent it in, and I can't just dictate my comments on that. So what I did though is I recorded a video of me going slide by slide through their PowerPoint, and I sent it back to them. And now that one task though, well, I didn't realize, I knew it was a little long, but I didn't realize how long it was. It was an hour to do that. But the way I look at it is that people are paying you for your personal expertise. There's things that I can look at and just glance at a PowerPoint. I know the direction that they're going, and I know what they want to say, but now I have to try to explain that to them. And it's easier for me just to pull up Camtasia and critique something, or maybe it's something on their website that is difficult to explain. And so I can visually do it via a video. And so sometimes it's just me answering a video like that or recording something really quick. And then I just simply upload it to YouTube and put it on private and then send them the link.
And you're good to go. And isn't it crazy? Like sometimes the things that will hold us back, like I started a coaching program, my first coaching program, maybe about 5 years ago, but I had thought about starting one for about 5 years before I actually did it. Because I thought, oh man, I'm going to get a ton of people that submit questions, and I'm not going to have the time, and I'm going to be answering questions all day long. It's just like what you said, very few people actually submit questions. It's like the 80-20, right? Probably like the 99-100.
Yeah, exactly.
99-1. You get that one person that might send you questions pretty often, but most don't. And it's like the more you charge for coaching, the more they respect your time and their time as well. I just can't. I mean, that was so true. The people, for example, we have several different levels of our coaching program, but the people, I mean, at 5,000 and 20,000 as an example, as on coaching, it's not that much of a difference, honestly. 5,000 people ask a few more questions, but the $20,000 people I never actually hear from unless it's absolutely critical. And it's just a huge difference. But take the $5,000 people compared to the $97 a month people, Yep.
Right. And again, $5,000 a year, just to clarify, but and then let's say $1,000 a year person. Drastic difference. But you know, I think you have to look at it this way. As long as they feel that they are getting from your coaching program what they need, then it's okay for them. Yeah. And I just have to tell you a story about this one guy. He's been in my coaching program, I believe, for about 8 years. He is on every one of my trainings live. He, every time I do anything, he's there. He's visually there. I can see his name. He's never asked me a question ever via email. Never asked me a question.
Out of 8 years, he's never asked a question?
Never asked me a question. And it was just a month ago that I was doing a training virtually, and he showed up, and I actually had to make a comment saying, "Oh my God, you're a real person." And because his credit card has expired like 3 times.
Right.
And we've just called him up. He gives us a new credit card, and he's good to go. But he's very happy with the program, loves it, and he's real nice guy. But he just doesn't asking questions, and maybe I'm that thorough, but I don't know.
Hey, he's soaking it all up. That's what it is. He's just.
I guess so.
But that would kind of freak me out, and it would also make me think this is my dream client right here. You know, I've got.
Yeah, I want more of him.
So that's it. So let's go back to square one a little bit. What's your background like? Because you didn't wake up this guy that kind of knew it all, right? Not like me. Like, you don't wake up just knowing it.
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, I have probably the most marketing or internet background that you could ever have. Prior to I did 2 things prior to the internet, really. My first job I ever had was selling vacuum cleaners door to door. That was the first thing that I did.
Was it the Kirby vacuum cleaners?
I did both. I sold Electrolux first, and then I actually started selling Kirby. So I sold Electrolux for, I think, 2 years, and I sold Kirby for like 3.5 years or so, somewhere around there.
Man, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would. I missed out on that. I think you get the best experience from that.
It was the scariest thing, but looking back on it in 2020 hindsight, it was the best thing that I ever did. Right. It taught me how to talk to people. It taught me how to deal with different people in different situations from different classes, I guess you'd want to say. Yeah. And it just taught me so many things about communication that I found, and it taught me obviously a lot about sales as well too. The things that you should say and how to do it and how to go about it, and one-to-one, but still it's all the same in my opinion in many ways. So after I did that, I wanted to do something different. I got tired of going out knocking on doors and that whole type of lifestyle because it was a long day. But then I answered an ad in the paper, and it looked for telecommunications sales reps. And I'm like, okay, I'll call it up. And it was in the Wall Street Journal, right? Okay. So I figured, oh man, this got to be a good job, right? So I remember I looked at the Wall Street Journal. I was in the library. I went to a payphone, called them up, and they have, remember those things, payphones?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, like
I know, it's like, do I put a dime or a quarter in? I'm not sure. So anyway, I picked up the phone. I called him up. I said, yeah. He said, you have any direct sales experience? Have you knocked on doors? I'm like, oh, yes, I have. So he tells me what it is, and basically he wanted me to actually knock on doors and sell long distance, like AT&T, MCI, Sprint, that type of idea.
Long distance telephone service.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so I said, well, how does it work? He says, well, you just have them fill out a piece of paper, and for everyone based upon their bill, you get paid a certain amount. So if they have a low bill, it's $9. If they have, and it's scaled up, but a high bill, you can make $50 if their bill was over $100.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. So let's do that. So I try that out. I do it, for a few years, but then all of a sudden I get kind of sick and tired. And what happened was I read in a magazine that these guys are making residual income every month from me selling them. I get paid once, and they're making like, 10 cents for every minute that someone's on the phone. So I'm like, I want to do that. So I ended up starting a company. Again, I called up this other company. I got set up, and basically what I did was I called up AT&T. Yeah. And this, I'm going to tell you, this is like, it sounds crazy, but this is what happened is this is before the internet.
Right.
I didn't know who to call. I have no business background other than knocking on doors. But I honestly, this is how I started to get a contract with AT&T. Now remember, at this particular point in my life, you have to understand that I have no money. I'm broke. I'm living next door to my parents. My son's mother is just about to leave me, and she does right before I start this company. So anyway, so I'm at the kind of a low point in my life. I've got two things with me. I've got a desk, a little tiny desk that was literally about this big. My dad bought for me from the Salvation Army. Okay. I have the last bit of money that I spent was on a fax machine, believe it or not, was $160 I spent on this fax machine. And I believe that I'm going to go into business with AT&T.
Right.
That was where I'm starting. So I don't know who to call at AT&T. So I opened up the phone book and I literally, it says for information, it says dial 0. So I dialed 0, just like it said. And I said, hi, my name's Armand Morin. I need to talk to someone about reselling AT&T services. And they said, well, this is customer service. You need to call this person. So I called that person. And then they said, you need to call this person. So over the course of 2 weeks, I probably called 30, 40, maybe even 50 different people. I finally get to a guy that is in charge of channel sales for AT&T. And he says, well, it sounds like you want our channel program. I forget the name of it exactly right now, but our channel program, it does this, this, and this. All we need from you is a logo, and we will bill it with your logo at the top and everything else. And it turns out it's free. It doesn't cost me anything, but I also turned out that I was the first person in the country to actually have that program with AT&T.
Are you serious?
I swear to you, it was just timing. So basically the way it worked is I got the calls, let's say on average for about 13 cents. And then at the time, long distance was about 35 or 40 cents per minute. And so I would make the difference for every customer. So my idea was to charge reps to sell this. So I charged a rep $500 to sell this. And then they would get the customer, and I would pay them a percentage of the bill every single month that each customer that they got. And so that's how we started. And so ultimately, I ended up getting just a boatload of reps in the first couple of weeks. We literally did $100,000 in sales during that time in the first week.
Now, what year? So, in the first week, did you say?
First week, and here's the reason why. It was timing. There's no doubt, but I ran an ad in USA Today, looking for long distance telecommunication sales reps. Turns out there was a market at that time for a lot of people selling this type of service. And so we put this all together. We ended up getting about 5,000 reps in total in the first 7 months. Now, I say we because at the time, in the process of trying to get deals and put everything together, I ran across two other guys. One lived in Mississippi, one lived in North Carolina, and I was in New York.
Right.
And we partnered up. We partnered up and didn't meet each other. We didn't know each other. It was just a matter of, I like you on the phone, and I think we should partner on this together. It was all word of mouth. It was all just a verbal agreement between us, and we started this company. And so after we started,
this is no internet, no Zoom, no face-to-face,
nothing
like this.
This is strictly, I like you, you like me. I think we work together. You make me laugh, and let's go into business.
So it was dating pretty much. Right.
It was kind of like that, but it was truly blind dating.
Right.
But now, so we get together, we start the company. We decided to put the company in Mississippi. I was mobile. Again, my son's mother just left me, took my son with her literally the week before. Yeah. So I'm mobile now. I can go anywhere I want. I moved to Mississippi, and we start the company. And this kind of leads into exactly the internet. And here's the reason why. Yeah. When I get to Mississippi, we've got applications upon application upon applications that we need to process somehow.
These are customers that want to get signed up?
Customers that want to switch. And so again, this is within a week or two, right? So he doesn't have a computer, my partner, and he doesn't know how to use a computer. And I don't really either. So I just took a class in high school. That was it. And remember, the computers back in high school weren't like the computers today.
Right.
So we have some money now. So we go to a late night run to Walmart, and we buy a computer, an Acer computer, I'll never forget. And so we set it up. I saw an ad in the paper for a piece of software that supposedly did this. And I can put in this disk and configured the computer, and we started typing, and then we started using Kelly Girls, which is a temp service, to bring people in. And we're living, just to clarify something, we're living in a motel that was converted into apartments. I'm sleeping on the couch.
Oh, wow.
He's sleeping in the bedroom, and I'm working all night typing stuff in, which wasn't great. So within, literally, this is the span of time frame. I just want to give you an idea. So I get down there 2 weeks after we start. We have one computer. 3 days later, we rent an office, right? The next day, we start getting Kelly Girls and interviewing them. They're starting to work the next day. So now we're, let's say, 5 days or 6 days into this. We have this office. We're literally going to Walmart and buying everything late at night because that's the only time that we have. We're putting in tables. We got computers, but fortunately, his church pastor actually knew about networking computers together.
Oh, wow.
So we got him to chain our computers together, and we would just, every day we would add 2 to 3 new people in. And so we ultimately had 25 people in a room all typing in applications for us. And then we went from 1 office to 2 offices, which is the one next to us, and then 3 offices, which is the one below. And we just had them typing literally all day and sometimes into the night. So it was kind of crazy. But like I said, in that time frame, we did, first 7 months, we did $1.8 million. Now, that sounds really great. Right. But again, what I got out of it was I got paid about $40,000, I think it was. Yeah. And the company rented a condo. And so I stayed in that. So, but I think the other part, though, is even more important to understand, is that out of that 40,000, you see, I believe that people don't work for themselves. Yeah. I don't. I know that for sure. But even at that time, I didn't work for myself. Out of that $40,000 that I personally made, that I got from that company, I gave away about 75% of it. And what I mean, I say gave it away. My grandmother in the Philippines died that year. My mom couldn't afford to go home. I paid for her to go back to the Philippines and to take care of that. And when she got there, no one had any money for a funeral, so I sent money for that. My brother's van broke down. He's got 5 kids. I buy him another van. All these different things come up. It was all family things that came up that they needed it more than I did. I mean, what do I? I'm a single guy. I mean, what am I? I'm into my business, and that's about it. So. And that's the thing, is I believe that we do all of this not to hoard money, but to help other people. And for me, it's family. It's, the things that I spend the most money on is family, of what things that they need, not just relentlessly, recklessly, I should say, just giving out money to family. I'm saying that when my family needs something, I want to be there for them.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, man. I'm the same way. I think that you have that why, right? Like, it's your family, especially when you come from a challenging background. I think that drives you even more so, because now you're able to do for people that I believe that most people can do for themselves, but there's something that is innately within certain people also that pushes them a little bit higher, and you being one of those individuals, right? So now it's like me. So one of my missions ever since I was 15 was to buy my mom a house and pay cash for it. And I was able to do that before she passed,
Yeah, me too.
And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to give back, in a sense.
I was going through, you remember years ago, they had these like portable video cameras. I had it's a Kodak ZI6. And
I remember the portable. Yes, actually, not like, that brand, but yes.
Yeah. I think there was I think when one was called Zoom or something like that, or anyway, so I ended up finding one literally last week. And so I'm trying to get the videos off of it to see what's there. And I found all these ones of my daughter when she was, really, really young. And then I put the disc in the little card in my computer, and there's there's actually a video of me showing up at my mom and dad's house and giving them a van.
Look at that.
I literally drove up there in this van. It was like 2 days before Christmas. And I drove up there in this van because it was my van, actually, I gave them. And so I drove up there in the van, gave it to them, and stayed for 20 minutes and then had to catch a flight to go back home because I had to drive 2.5 hours to get a flight out of there. So it was this whole video of them going, why are you here? What are you doing? Because I got there and no one was home.
You surprised them?
So I had to wait. Yeah, I surprised them. They had no idea I was even coming. So it was just kind of a cool thing, but it was just that memory that was captured, on there. So it was just great.
Yeah, and the memories like that, man, Jim Rohn used to say, like, trinkets get lost or broken, right?
Yeah.
But the memories last forever. So
absolutely.
When I had me and my wife Melody, so we had our kids, our two youngest kids, hand the keys to my mom.
Yeah.
To her new house.
Right.
My mom's the toughest old lady vet I've ever met, right?
Yep.
First time I've ever seen her cry was when they handed her the keys and the deed to her house. She did like this Denzel Washington one tear thing. She wasn't going to cry with both eyes.
Yeah.
There was just one tear coming down. But I'll always remember that.
Yeah. I mean, when we got my mom and dad a house, I had my, we weren't able to go up there. But my brother was basically live streaming this. And this was very crude, like live stream. And it was just like this crazy choppy video that was barely there, but it was there. And, we got a chance to see saying, hey, this is yours. And it was awesome. So I know exactly how you feel.
You'll never forget that. So you took this business, right? 2 weeks. I think you said you did 100K, or was it a week or so?
Yeah, we have.
You guys have just all of these customers. How did that lead into internet marketing and you getting to the point where you've got all of this other stuff?
So from that time, what happened was, of course, I got into the computer aspects more and more of running the company, and I knew more about it than anyone else did as far as the computers go. And we had some kind of a crude website that I think I had someone else build at the time. But at the end of that, the reason I say we did $1.8 million in 7 months was because we ended up selling the company. I made one realization, is that the realization I made was that business is all about technology. And if you don't own the technology, you really aren't able to compete very well. So that's a
nugget right there. I mean, for anyone that's watching, just understand that I'm kind of glossed over that, but that's very important, right? Not having a platform or a technology.
If you own the technology, I mean, you're golden. But if you're not, you're dependent upon someone else. Yeah. So what we did was we weren't actively searching. Someone just actually came to us and said, hey, we want to look to buy your company and blah, blah, blah. So we made a deal. And turns out the deal was, though, for the majority of it being in stock of their company, which sounds really great. It's like, oh man, I got all the stock, but it's a preferred stock. So we can it's reserved, has a reserve on it, I'm sorry, but has a reserve on it. And I can't do anything with it for 2 years. And at first it goes up massively, like 4 times, just because of the acquisition of us. And then by the time I got it, I have a certificate now on my wall that stock is in total worth 1 cent. They closed down my account for that stock, and it was 1 cent. So I got the check. So that's kind of funny. But then I had nothing to do. So when I went online and I researched, I got one of those discs from AOL. I went online and I started searching, and I realized within that first day of being online that my competitors had websites, and they were actually selling services online even back then, getting people to switch over their long distance. And I'm like, oh man, you can use the internet to sell things. And this was like basically my first experience on the internet. When I say I learned this like in an hour.
Wow.
They're selling stuff. They're selling stuff. And I'm like,
that was your aha moment. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was it. So this is like literally 1 hour on the internet. They're selling things. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. This is incredible. Maybe I could sell something on the internet. Literally, that was just the epiphany, that boom. So when I closed down the company, I kept only 2 things. I kept the desk that I had, which was a really cool desk. And then I had I had the biggest computer that we had, the most powerful computer that we had. I kept that. And so I have this computer, I have this desk, and I have it in the middle of this studio apartment with basically no other furniture. So it was kind of a sad moment, really. But I'm on the internet now, and I find out, again, 1 hour in, that you can sell things. And then I start looking, well, what could I sell? And I found this one site, and I know it sounds crazy, but they said, if you give me $25, I will put your link on our website. And because we're advertising this so much, you're going to get a lot of traffic to your website.
Oh,
And
wow.
I thought that is the most simplest thing that you can do. They have no inventory, they have nothing. And so I'm like, oh man, I could do that. And so I went online and again, now we're at hour like 2.
Right.
Okay. I go online, I find this program on AOL because that's how I got on the internet. It was called AOL Press, which showed you how to make a website, and it promised in like 2 hours. So at the end of 2 hours, I believed them, and sure enough, I had a website.
Right.
I followed their instructions exactly, and I had this website, and my website said, if you give me $25, I will put a link on my website, going back to your website, because I'm going to advertise this a lot.
Hey,
And
success leaves traces, right?
yeah, man, it was one of those things. And so I started advertising this with classifieds. Now, the way I took their money was even scarier because I had a program from my business that allowed people to send us their routing number and their checking account and a check number. And we could print out a check that didn't require a signature. It was actually legal back then.
Oh,
And
wow. That's insane.
so I was, getting these orders in. I'd have to type up the routing number, put it onto a check, and then I show up at a bank with this stack of checks that
Printed
all
check.
say no signature required. Now imagine that.
Right.
Imagine that conversation. Well, it turns out that, it is legal, and they look it up and everything else. And we processed $8,000 in $25 orders that first week.
That's a lot of $25 orders. Wow.
That's a lot of $25 orders. Now, what happened was I had to hire one of the people that was working for me back in order to type up all these things. But because I only had one computer and I'm working out of an apartment, that while they were doing that, I couldn't actually work. But I realized that what I was doing was manual. I realized that had its time, and that automation was going to take over what I was doing. And I did do that for like a month or two. And then I'm like, this can't continue on. There's no way. And so it was all, it was just kind of not one of those things. But when I was on the internet, I was an information junkie, and I still am today.
Yeah.
Is I realized that I could get any information at the tip of my fingertips. And more importantly, I found that there was a lot of free stuff on the internet. You can get free, at the time, free internet if you want to watch banners all day. If you want to get a free magazine or free calendars or free this or free that. And so I bookmarked all these different things. And this is where it really leads on to my first, what I would call my real first business on the internet. And that was, I took these links that I had, and I had this idea one day that, well, if I think these links are cool, why, I think other people would think they're cool too. So why don't I just kind of make a private site and then charge people to access this? And so this is like 1996 now.
So was it a one-time fee, or was it
one-time fee, $110? And the reason why it was $110 is because I didn't want to pay the credit card fee.
Got it. So you made them pay the $10 there.
Yeah. So, but yeah. And then I was smart enough to realize that there was this thing called affiliates at the time. Yeah. And I found the software. It was very crude software that you could do this with. And all of a sudden, people started going on and ordering this. And the first day, we had like 10 orders. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I just made $1,000. Right. Yeah. And I didn't do anything, and I didn't have to deliver anything. I didn't have to make anything. And this is awesome. And then all of a sudden, the next day we had like, the next couple of days we had like 100 orders. And I'm like, oh my God, I just made $10,000. And
100 orders at $100 and 96?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking crazy money back then, right?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden in the first week, I get 1,000 orders in. I mean, it's like that UPS commercial where they see one order and they're like, yay. And then it starts spinning really fast and they're like, oh no. Well, right. It was the same thing. All of a sudden, 1,000 orders come in. My hosting company is calling us saying we're crashing this server, we're crashing that server. And because everyone that's coming in, I'm making an affiliate as well too. Right. And so they're referring more people. And over the course of 12 weeks, we get 35,000 sales. That was
what it serious?
Yeah, at $110 a pop. So we brought in total was $4.2 million in the first 12 weeks.
Oh my God. Let me ask you a question. So in 1996, you had the balls to say, okay, we're going to charge $100 for this. Yeah. Pricing is one of the biggest things, right? That people have when they're going to business. They're like, well, no one's going to pay this, but you were charging $100 in 1996. What gave you that confidence to do that?
I didn't know any better. I didn't have anyone to tell me that's too high. I didn't have anyone to say that, well, that's not what people do on the internet. So out of being naive and not knowing, I just said, I think I think this is worth $100.
Yeah.
And, I would pay $100 for this. And so it was like 600 links and it was all organized. And so I'm like, this is like $100 easy. And it's only one time. So then the question was, well, if all these links are free links, why can't they just go find them themselves? I said, well, you can. You're just going to have to find 600 different places that do all these different things that I did. So you're paying for convenience.
It's going to take you forever. Les Brown says sometimes you have to be naive enough to not know what you don't know. And I heard that many years ago, and it's helped me out so much. One of the other things that you just answered was that people will come to me, I teach people how to self-publish on Amazon's Kindle, and people will always say, hey, Ty, well, why would someone pay for my idea that I'm going to put into a book when they can go in and find it for free on YouTube or Google?
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you just said. Well, they have to go find it. And for some people, their time is more valuable than the amount of money that they're going to spend.
Yeah,
so
man, I remember the first book I ever bought on Amazon. It was so many years ago, but the reason I bought it is I had a problem. I was working on a PowerPoint for a presentation and I wanted to know how to do one thing. One thing. I don't even know what it was now, but I needed to know one thing. And I started searching on the internet and no one could tell me how to do that. And I found this book. It was on Amazon and it said for a time, I think it was $11. It was digitally downloaded that we're going to tell you how to do this and this and that thing that I need to know was in that book. And so I bought the book. Sure enough, it told me exactly how to do it and I was on my way. Now I could have spent the next 2 or 3 days trying to figure out how to do it for free, but $11 was worth my time to figure it out in 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. And there's tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions of people who value their time.
Well, look at an encyclopedia.
Yep.
All the information in an encyclopedia is free, but yet, hundreds of millions of dollars has been spent in buying encyclopedias. Even in Wikipedia, technically all that information is free.
Yeah.
But, you'd never find it on your own. That's why you're paying for the convenience, or in this case, donating for the convenience.
Yeah. Let me ask you, who are some of the people, I'm always interested in people like yourself have learned from. Who are some of the people that you first started studying, once you became aware of this online environment? And just marketing? I'm actually kind of a weirdo when it comes to that stuff because I didn't really study the other marketers per se. Okay.
Because I didn't know about them for a long time. I studied more people like Steve Jobs and his thought process and the products that he made and how they did that. I wanted to know everything I could about that, and I dived deep in. Now, there's a few marketers that I admired, and one of the marketers I really admired because it was by happenstance that we were both selling very, very similar products, and it was Corey Rudel back when.
Yeah, the late Corey Rudel.
Yeah, Corey had. We both had an ebook software that was out there. Yep. We both had, very, very similar products along the way. I liked the way he did things. He had a very clean presence as far as the websites and how the sales letters were written. And I thought that was really, really good. In the very beginning, way back when, Mark Joyner was one of the first people to really do anything with ebooks in a very big way. But what I liked about Mark's ebooks weren't the ebooks themselves, was, again, the sales process that he used, because his websites were very well written. His, copywriter, I think it was Maria Veloso at the time, she wrote the majority of his copy. His web designs were just very clean. And so I think it was different people that I looked at that were doing some things. And it wasn't until years after I got started. And it was really kind of funny because it was after I'd made millions of dollars on the internet that I started really studying this even further. But then I went back though. I figured if these guys, this is how I think, right? That I believe that everything that you're seeing even today goes back to some original person way back when. And I think that the story got muddled somewhere along the way.
Right.
And so I believe going back to the original person to try to find out originally how that happened. So when we're talking about copywriting, I don't really like studying too many people of the modern day. I do like some of the things that they say. I like John Carlton and the way that he writes. And
Yeah.
it's not because of his marketing information. John Carlton, if you look at his other stuff, like I found a site that John had written all the sales letters for about golf.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like 15 different, and it was golden because it was for another market outside of the marketing industry. And I'm like, oh my God, the way he wrote it was just absolutely brilliant. And he's just brilliant about that copywriting. So, but a lot of the people I studied were way back in the beginning, like, John Caples,
Yeah.
Robert, John Caples, Robert Caples, John Caples. I don't know. I can't remember.
John Caples, but I'm like you too. I don't get I'm more
Robert
into
Collier.
like
That's it.
Robert Collier, right? I'm more into like the Gary Halberts, Gary Benzabenga, and John Carlton and those guys. The newer guys, I really, there's a few of them, but I really,
I mean,
the old style.
It's kind of funny though because like with Gary Halbert, I mean, I was just one of those people. I didn't care for his sales letters.
Right. I don't think many people cared for Gary Halbert, Yeah,
I mean, he was an interesting character, but the thing is but you look at John Carlton though, who's, one of Halbert's best friends.
Yeah.
And his sales, I think his methods are just light years ahead of everyone. And I think, and also they still work today. So just to be clarifying, but today,
I think those two are like the odd couple. They were like the odd couple. Like I never understood that dynamic, Gary Halbert. And,
I did. I understood that part because I think their personalities just kind of mixed where they didn't, they wouldn't let each other get away with stuff. So
yeah, that could make sense. All right. So I know that you shared like the stage with people like Donald Trump, Richard Branson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Mark Victor Hansen, Joe Vitale, John Assaraf, Laura Langmeyer, Dan Kennedy, Jay Abraham, Joe Polish, and many, many more. Is it true that you sold almost $1 million worth of product from the stage at one time?
I did. I sold $995,000 in a 90-minute presentation, which was the best day of my life and the worst day of my life.
So wait, how do you go from $5,000 short of $1 million? And did I hear you just say 90 minutes?
Yeah, 90 minutes. Yeah,
90 minutes. But it's the best day and worst day. I got to hear it.
Yeah, it was the best day because, I sold $995,000. And it was the worst day because I didn't sell $1 million. Because that story sounds so much better. It sounds so much better if I said, you sold $1 million in 90 minutes. I'm like,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that what I learned was as I was starting to build my business and I created a couple products on the internet, I started to learn that there was these seminars. And I went to one of them. I went down to Atlanta, Georgia, actually, and I walked into one and I saw what they were doing. And at the end of their presentations, they would make a sale. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I went to a couple of these events, only like 2 or so. And then I'm like, man, I think I want to speak. I'm doing some cool things that people would want to know about. And one of the things I wanted to talk about then was outsourcing, because no one talked about outsourcing because I had a couple software products and people thought I was a software programmer. And I'm like, no, man, I outsourced this to Czechoslovakia and people wanted to know how I did it and everything. So that's what I talked about in the beginning. And so I'm like, I want to speak at an event. So I sent an email and it just turned out to be a guy named Carl Galletti. And Carl, was doing an event. He was doing some pretty big events at the time. And he says, man, I was just about to contact you to see if you wanted to speak. And I'm like, oh yeah, wow. I would. So I show up at his event and I do my presentation. And again, I'm just, I knew it's like, I seen other people speak. So I didn't really have much of a pattern to go after. It was, here's who I am. Here's here's what I'm going to teach you. And, and here's a product that, if you want to know more about me, that we can work together on. And that was the short version of it, but it worked out. I was like the number 2 seller at the first event. It sounds really big, really big numbers back then. I sold $11,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, there's speakers now that would love to, they would kill to sell $11,000 worth of stuff from the States.
Yeah. I think my price point was like $297 at that time when I sold it.
297. So that's a lot of sales there at 11.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, when I typically speak on stage, it's usually 1997 or more. depending on what it is. But $19.97 is like my go-to price. And my logic is very simple. It's from a psychological reason on my part, is that I feel if I show up at someone's event, they're going to get half of what I'm getting. And therefore I make a simple $1,000 per sale that I make. And so it's my lack of math that made me choose that price point.
That's smart. That's smart. I like that. So when you did the 995,000, we're going to say a million. When you did the million in 90 minutes, right? Man, that's the headline for this thing. How Armand Morin did 1,000,090 minutes.
Yeah, I my price point was a little higher. It was at 3,997, I believe it was.
Okay.
But still, it was a significant price. Now, what made it different? There was, I think, about 3,000 people in the room, maybe,
okay.
Maybe slightly more than that, but about 3,000 people in the room. And I just came up with a package that I thought was a no-brainer. And I'll tell you the close, because this is a great close.
And while you're talking, I've got one of these things here. My daughter says this is the world's largest calculator. I'm going to do some math as you're explaining the close here, because I want to see how many sales that was approximately.
Yeah, it wasn't as many as you think, really. So when you look at this, though, I made this package. It was in England, so I called the package the Full Monty.
Yep.
So it's like, I give you everything that I have nothing more. And, but here was part of the close. I showed them this. It was this huge package that I gave everyone. Two parts that really stood out that I believe kind of pushed it over the edge. Number one, I offered this one part. I gave them this huge package with all these different pieces into it, lifetime access, the whole works. Right. But then what I offered was, and you're going to be able to come to one of my events in the US. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do now, listen very closely to how I say this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the money for your plane ticket to go there. Now, let me ask you a question. If you fly all the way to the US, would you like to fly economy or would you like to fly first class? How many people would like to fly first class? And so they all raised their hand. And so I said, great, that's exactly what I thought. Well, I just looked up that the price for a first class ticket is, I don't know, let's just say $3,000. Yep. So it's $3,000. So I'm going to give you that discount off the price right now so you can pay for your ticket. You see what I mean?
That's genius. The psychology behind that is incredible.
It is, because it's like, oh man, here's the price and he's going to give me the discount so I can pay for my own ticket. So it's like he's paying for the ticket. So that was one thing I thought was just a great idea. It's just, you have to make sure that everyone understands how that's happening. But then number two, the second thing I put on was a countdown timer.
Yeah, well, you got to make sure everyone understands how that's happening, right? Because then if not, like you just said.
Yeah, you have to make sure that people know that here's the price of what you're going to do. So let's just say it was $5,000, just to make it easy. So it's $5,000 and you have to sell it though at $5,000. People have to be wanting it. People have to be getting up and buying it at $5,000. And then at that point, then you say, I'm even going to do something better. I want to even pay for your plane ticket. And now you're going to see hopefully the second wave start to get up. And here's how it works. And then you say it's $5,000. So I'm going to give you that $3,000 for that plane ticket right now. So you're only going to pay today only $2,000. Yeah. You see what I mean?
That's genius.
So by explaining it that way, and then what you do is I added a countdown timer to it. I had a 10-minute countdown timer to get people to buy now, as opposed to waiting. The countdown timer is something that it just works if you use it in the right way, is that you have to set it up. I believe in rewarding people that take action immediately. We want to reward people that are decisive. I want to work with people that know what they want and want it right now. And then, so I'm not going to give you all day. I'm not going to give you all weekend. I'm going to give you a simple time frame. So if this is for you, I need you to stand up right now because you only have 10 minutes. And then you have this 10-minute countdown timer on all your slides. Now, while that countdown timer is going, you get people to start moving to the back. But as it's going, as it's counting down, you recap your offer as you're doing it. So that countdown timer is staying on the screen the whole time.
Right.
And it's just counting. And so as it gets towards the end, you're still, even though you might not be on the stage still, but as you're talking, you want to let people know you've only got 9 minutes left. You've only got 8.5 minutes left. You only got this. And then you might end when there still be 5 minutes. still on the clock, but that's still ticking, and you give instructions to the person running the event, let that presentation run till the end.
And they see that there's true scarcity there and there's urgency in that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Hey man, I actually have taken that from you as well. I put it in. I got to stop talking about what I took from you because soon that check's going to get bigger and bigger. So I incorporate that into my webinars a lot now. You know, the countdown timer. I actually just did it yesterday. I re-recorded the close for one of my webinars, and I went over to Google and I put in the 7-minute countdown timer so that they can see it. And they can hear as it's ticking down. And
I think the key is, you know, I think webinars are the biggest thing ever today. I think if you're not doing webinars, I think you've lost. Especially if you sell anything relatively high ticket. Any ticket doesn't really matter, really. But here's the thing on the webinar though, is that we've been conditioned to realize that a webinar is going to happen, let's say on Wednesday. And then we've also been conditioned to realize that there's going to be a replay. So what we
nobody shows up, right?
What we need to do is we need to let people know that, especially that are on there live, that this particular offer is only available now. And then after that, we would re-record a second offer that would show after. In other words, what happens is on our close, we give them a bonus for everyone that orders right now and let them know that, hey, this is not going to be in the replay. This is not going to be there. You're only going to get this right now. And it's something that they absolutely must want. So by doing that, that forces everyone to take action immediately, because of after they're not going to get this. Now, the reason I say recording 2 alternate endings, one for after on the replay, is the last thing that you want is someone to see an offer that they can't actually get all of it. So that's why you record the second version without that bonus showing, so they don't feel bad when they actually watch it on the replay.
Yeah, I think that's genius. I just actually wrote that down. That's another $100,000 idea right there. You know, so I've got this calculator over here adding up. So,
but well, just to mention that though, so let's say that replay though. Let's just talk about that. So let's say you got that, not the replay itself, but well, there's 2 things I just want to share with you guys. Is that number one is on that initial offer, right? You want to maybe give it to them by like maybe the next morning, like maybe 12 o'clock the next day, to give them time to react. But now,
so meaning fulfillment on that offer. So whatever the bonus is,
no. I'm talking about that bonus that of the initial people that were on the call. You give them time to order that. So they might have, if it's 9 o'clock tonight, right, they might have till 12 o'clock noon to take advantage of the offer. If they don't take advantage of the offer by 12 o'clock noon. So that gives you time to send out like 3, 4, 5 different emails to those people, but only to the people that actually showed up. You see what I mean?
Gotcha. Smart.
So now it's like, it's almost done. It's almost finished. Last chance. You got 60 minutes left, and that type of idea. And so that forces anyone that was on there live to order that one particular package. Then all of a sudden you have now the replay for everyone else. But on the replay for everyone else, where we've made the most money is that we give them like 7 to 8 days after the event, and we push the replay. So the next day they get a replay. The day after that, we send them an email that says, hey, did you see this? And then it was the same email from the first day. Day 3, we don't send anything. Day 4, we say, hey, did you know that our product could do this, or our program could do this, or maybe it's a testimonial. But day 5, our subject is 72 hours left. And it's just really a link to that replay. And then the next day after that, it's 72, 48 hours, 24 hours left. And on the last day, this is going away at midnight, or last chance. And so that countdown on those last 3 days is what pushes everyone to sell, especially that last day. So if you just implement that type of strategy, the average person without any work will double their sales. From whatever they had the first day, they will double it, guaranteed. Because this is also going out to all the people that didn't show up. So you might have had 100 people on, but you had 300 people that had registered, as an example, right? So this is going to those other 200 people that weren't on, giving them a time to actually watch this. But now all of a sudden, as you get near to that last day, that last 48 and 24 hours left, that's where all your sales are going to occur. But also, I've actually had it at one time where I multiplied my sales by 10 times.
10 times. Wow.
10 times during that 1 week after. And so that it's not just following up with people, it's following up in that to push them to take an action or, get off the pot.
Gotcha. And having those deadlines in place helps as well as those bonuses do. So 10 times from the original.
From whatever you got that first night. Typically,
Gotcha.
People will at least do 2 times, but I find that it's probably more towards an average of maybe, say 4 to 5 times I think most people would actually get.
Very cool. Very interesting. There's definitely something there, folks. If you're doing webinars, and if you are doing webinars, rewind this part right here and take notes. Like rewind that part right there 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times and write down exactly what Armand just shared. And if you're not doing webinars, definitely, as he just said, you should be doing webinars because they are just a money maker. You know what? One of the most impactful things that I ever got from you out of many things is the concept of success leaves traces, right? Can you talk about that for a minute? Because I think that if people, no matter where they are, right now, if they get that, then they can really see a major difference just by implementing that success leaves traces philosophy of yours.
Yeah, I mean, this is what success leaves traces is basically what I tried to sum up is how I think. So if I think of an idea, what goes through my head in a matter of a couple split seconds? What happens? And then it kind of happened as a conversation I was having with John Reese late one night. It was probably like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. John and I were talking and he says, man, you really just need to write down how you think. Right. And I thought about it then and, how do I think, and when you start to analyze how you do things, because no one ever really questions you how you do it.
That's not a question you hear, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I thought, how do I think and what does go through my mind? And I figured out it was a breakdown of all these different pieces. And number one, there's only a few steps. Number one was observation. So what I typically do is observe everything that's been going on. The thing that I want to do, the thing I want to accomplish, I observe someone that actually has accomplished that already. Great example of that. I was young and I was, I saw someone water skiing and I saw what they did when they water skied. And I thought, I always wanted to water ski. And so I sat down behind them. I watched them what they did. They sat down in the water, had their skis up with their tips pointing out. They pulled the rope tight from the boat. And then that boat started taking off. And then they kind of lifted to keep the rope tight. And then they got up. And then immediately this particular person went for the wake and jumped the wake. So I'm like, oh man, that looks so cool. And so I happened to be dating this girl in high school and her father said, do you know how to water ski? And I said, before I could catch myself, yes.
Right. Hey, it's the Bill Gates commit and then figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I get down to the water. I'm in the water and I remember this guy when I was like 9 years old and I lean back and I got my tips of my skis up because I've been practicing this in my head for so long. And I pulled the rope to make sure it's tight. And all of a sudden he comes out of the water, pulls me out of the water. And then immediately I go for the wake and I jump and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still standing. Right. So he pulls me around and to this day, he doesn't know that I didn't know how to water ski.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those things, but it was anything that you want to do, it's right in front of you. So number one is you have to observe what it is that you want to do. That's number two. That number one. Number two, what we need to do is we need to break it down. Well, first of all, we need to write down all the steps in order to make it happen. Right. And so we break it down into the steps. So what you can observe from something, I don't care what it is what actually needs to happen to make that whatever it is. So it's like, what are the steps? So it's like for example, let's say I'm just going to choose something I don't know how to do, like make the glass on an iPhone. Okay. So if I want to replicate that glass on an iPhone, now, again, I know nothing about glass or anything like that, but I do know this. I do know that Apple doesn't make it themselves.
Right.
So therefore, if I was to make that, could I look up who made that glass for Apple? And I can, because they're a public company, and I can find out exactly which company in China makes that glass, and I could go there, or I could find someone that makes glass similar to it. And so that would be my number one, observation, the glass. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it does. Here's the features of it. Number two, who makes it? Can I go back through and the steps to make it? Number one, I need to find someone that does it. Number two, I need to find out what the price is. Number three, I need to find out the quantities and so on. And down that list. So that would be kind of like the steps, is putting everything in an order. If I want to make a website as an example, so, well, the first thing is, before I can make a website, I need the basic things. I need, well, hosting. I need a hosting account. I need, something to make the website with. So am I going to use HTML? Am I going to use WordPress? Am I going to use some of these other things? And I can research that to find out, but I can also go to the websites that I like and find out what kind of websites how they're made, right? And I could also scroll to the bottom of the page, and if someone else made them, I could find out who made it. And then I could just contact that person. That would be an idea. Or if it's WordPress, I can say, okay, well, now I need a WordPress designer, or I need to learn how to do WordPress, typically. So I could find out what those steps are, put those steps in order. Number 3 is we look at the steps that we've outlined. And what I do is I look at it and say, can any of these steps be removed? In other words, sometimes people do things and that are not necessary. So can we remove any of these steps in order to make it more efficient? And then the next question I ask is, out of these steps, is there something that's missing? So this is like building the better mousetrap. So let's say that we wanted to build a website builder, like let's say like WordPress. Let's just use that as an example.
Right.
If I wanted to build something like WordPress, the question is, well, these are all the things that WordPress does, but where are the mistakes that they're making? And that's opinion. So this is what I believe that they're missing. I believe that their interface is too complicated. I believe they could simplify it. I believe that they could do this. And so these are the things that I'd want to add if I was to make my own version of that. Right. So that would be like what's missing, or in many cases, what I would do is call it amplification. So I call it amplification because we want to amplify it to make it better. And this is like, it's not making a better mousetrap. It's like leapfrog. So if the industry's here, right?
So you're significantly making it much better.
Yeah,
right?
What I'm doing is I'm starting here with nothing, and here's the industry standard. I'm using this, and I'm leaping over top of it, right. Simply because now I have all the features that the industry has on that, and then I'm making it better. So now the industry has to catch up to me. So I don't start off. Everyone believes in business that you start off at the bottom. Why? Because someone said so?
We follow tradition, right? We follow what's always been done instead of thinking about a different way.
Exactly. So if I want to break into an industry or disrupt an industry, I want to come into here, and then I want to make it better. And I want to come out on top as my first release. So once I figure out that, then the next step is who. So in other words, I've got all these things that I've written down, all these different steps, and there might be 50 or 100 different steps as an example. So as I go through each one, I'm going to go to a column next to the right of that, and I'm going to say, first, what are all the things that I'm going to personally do? I'm personally have the skills, I personally have the capabilities to do these things, and I'm just going to put me next to each one of those. Then the next step is, if it's not me, then the question is who? So number 1, do I know someone who's going to fill that? Maybe if I have a team of people, I could put down their names in the spots that I know. And if I don't have a team of people, then I need to find the people to do this. So these are the things I need to outsource. And then the question is, where do I outsource it? And really depends upon what you want to do, of course, right? So now I have this like game plan of, here's the steps I need to do. Here's who's going to do them. And then the last step is a time frame, is putting these things into a time frame in order to actually get them done. In other words, you want to estimate each one of these steps, how long it's going to take, and then also draw out if some of these steps can be done simultaneously. So for example, if 2 steps can be done at the same time, then these can share the same time frame. So we're giving it this time frame of each one of these steps, and then we're adding on to the time frame because of people. Because people just don't do things in your time frame. So we add on the exceptions for emergencies, family commitments, things of that nature, and we add on maybe 10 or 15 or maybe even 20% onto the time frame. And now we have a length of time. I think
that's smart. Nobody ever does that. Like, I think that like budgeting in time for the emergencies and, people just being, for lack of a better word, incompetent sometimes, or other things coming in. I think that's awesome right there. That's a good
So, but by the time that we're finished through these 5 steps, you have a game plan. You know exactly what's going to do, you know exactly how long it's going to take, and you know who's going to do it all along the way. But it can be applied to any aspect of your life. So let's say that a person was serious about losing weight, as an example. Number 1, observe how people that aren't as heavy as you what they eat, observe how they move, observe their activity throughout the day, observe their environments, observe everything about them. Where are they? Are they standing when they work? Are they sitting when they work? What kind of, all these different pieces, how much sleep do they get? All these things that happen throughout a person's day. If we analyze that, that's step one, right? So then step two is we start listing out our steps. So, okay, number one, I need to look at my activity, and I need to increase my activity to at least this. I need to adjust what I'm eating, or how much I'm eating, or how often I'm eating, to this. I need to exercise this amount. I need to do a combination of cardio and lifting weights. And so this is our list that we're putting in. And again, is there anything that they're missing that we could make better? So again, because some people are naturally thin, as an example, well, what could we do to make it better? Are there supplements that we can take? Can we take hot and cold showers or baths, or to activate brown fat cells? We could try these different things, and maybe there's some things that are proven to help us or aid and assist us with losing weight. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water an hour before you eat. Maybe it's getting, 8 or 9 hours of sleep each night. Maybe it's whatever it is. So it's that type of idea. Then once we've amplified it, then it's now who? Well, again, once we go down to the who aspect, well, of course it's you, but can there be other people to assist you? Can you get a personal trainer? Is there someone that can help you be accountable on your diet and weight loss? Are there charts or anything that can actually help you, like an online app or something that can assist you in doing it? And then, okay, well, what's our breakdown? Well, it's going to take me this long to find this. It's going to take me this long to find this. It's going to take me this long to do this. And then we can break it down into what it is. Okay, if the average person loses X number of pounds, let's say 2 pounds a week safely, then it's going to take us this amount of weeks in order to make that happen. If we do it sooner, then great. But again, it's no matter what aspect of your life, the same 5 steps still apply. And there's not a single thing that anyone could show me that it doesn't apply in this same 5 steps.
Success leaves traces. Man, you got a book right there. I think that would be an awesome book to go in.
Yeah, I think it would be.
Yeah,
in the book. Yeah, in the book, it really describes exactly what these 5 steps. It goes into detail, but it also covers some things that that we've been accustomed to. So, for example, for some people, they have a fear of success because of what they've been told, or what people have said, or conditions in their life. They've been accustomed to not achieving the things that they want.
Right.
So there's some mental blockage that we go through, or in some cases, it's a matter of being, some people are more straightforward in their thinking, and they're not allowed to have any creativity. And so there's steps that we show them how to be more creative, and things that have been scientifically proven to actually aid and assist you in that fashion. And there's exercises that people can do. So, everything that anyone's ever done, I believe that someone else can do. So
if there's someone that's done it already, you can model.
Yeah. I mean, I could say, being only 5'7", that I can't slam dunk a basketball, which I can't, nor do I really want to. But There's been plenty of NBA players shorter than me.
Yeah. Spud Webb, right? He's been one of the greatest out there. So awesome examples, and success leaves traces. So anything that's out there, you can definitely find someone to model and have similar results. So last question here. I know a little secret about you, right? Although you've influenced people from across the planet and have made millions and millions of dollars, you started with just $1.83 in your pocket. So here's the big question. If you had everything stripped from you, and you had to start all over again, what would you do? How would you do that today? Because there's plenty of people that are watching that may not have a ton of money. Maybe they've got $1.83, but how would you start all over again?
Yeah, I think I know it may not make people feel better, but I think it's easier today than it ever has been.
Much easier.
And I think it's maybe just not knowing where to go or where to start. So if I was to start all over today, what I would do is, number one, is I would go through an assessment. What do I know? In other words, I don't want to try to learn something else in order to teach someone else. And that's what the path a lot of people take is, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to do what you do. Well, do you know how to do what I do? No. Well, then how can you do that?
Right.
So your first thing is I think information is obviously the way to go. I think there's no question that I would sell an information product. So number one, I would go through my life and think about, what do I know how to do? What do I feel that I can explain to other people? What do I know well without having to go out and get extra education or learning from that? So that would be step number one. And knowing
and just to stop you real quick. So I think that's powerful because there's so many people that don't think they know something, but
yeah.
would you agree that almost every single person on the planet has something that
every single person, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a sport, maybe it's one aspect of a sport, right? So for example, if you knew about soccer, well, I don't want to teach someone how to play soccer. I want to teach them how to do a corner kick. You see what I mean?
Yep.
That's like one of the toughest things in soccer, right? How to do a corner kick. Or if it was in golf, maybe I'm not going to teach them how to play golf, but maybe I'm going to show them how to hit the ball straight 100% of the time.
Right.
You see what I mean?
And that's an entire product out there. I've seen it. I mean, it's an entire course. It's an entire book. It's an entire, people have seminars on just that one aspect of how to do something. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So many people that
absolutely, and it could
that.
be something. You know, my daughter right now is taking a class on sign language, and so someone knows sign language, and they broke this down into, I believe it was like a 10 or 12 week class that she's taken online, and they set it up properly, but it was sign language, right? Something that probably many people watching this would actually know, or maybe it's about, again, something that you learn, like maybe it's about do-it-yourself painting of your car. There's a lot of people that do that. Or maybe it's wrapping your car. That's one of the big things like now.
That's my son, Tyler. He wants to get his car wrapped now.
Oh man, I'm telling you, if I had to start an offline business, it would be a car wrapping business or a car detailing business. It would. I think it's just a great business, and I love the concept. So, but back to, again, knowing, if you know how to do something, it's showing other people how to do it. So now what you do is you decide what it is. And again, it doesn't have to be this big thing. It can be one specific thing which is going to sell best. Number two, how am I going to create this product? So number two, it would definitely be a video. 100%, because I can do it fast. I can do it quick. I don't need tools. I really just need a phone. If my phone is good enough to create a video any day of the week. I may have to bring in a little bit of extra lighting, but my phone is perfectly good enough to do a video. You can always make it more complicated later. So we record the video, you just and break it up into smaller segments. Meaning, maybe you don't have to do it all in one shot, because honestly, to do like a 1 hour video without making any mistakes is extremely difficult.
Right.
But to do 5 minutes on one piece is fine. 5 minutes on another, or 2 minutes on another. And so you can make these little short videos to kind of make up the product. So that's going to be the other piece. The third piece is, okay, assuming that I have this thing that I'm going to teach people, the next thing is, okay, pricing. How am I going to price it? How much would people pay to know how to do that? So what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to go on Google and see if other people did something what I did. And the best part is that it's good if they did. A lot of people think that they have to do something that no one's ever done before. Yeah. And yeah, that's great, but I would rather have a product where there's 1,000 other people in my market, because I already know that this market actually does sell. And
competition is good.
More than enough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and also I can see how they're selling it. That's even better. So I know what works and what doesn't. But now I'm going to take the pricing, and I'm going to look at the pricing, and I don't want to be the lowest price. And it's not necessarily I want to be the highest price, but I want to be in the upper 25% of the pricing. Because if I'm just starting out, I definitely want to be in the upper 25%. Probably more. I would probably want to be in that upper 80%. That 80%, that upper 20%, I should say.
So the higher price points is where you want to be.
Definitely, of whatever that market is.
I knew I liked you for a reason.
Whatever that market will bear, because some markets, your price points can be fairly low, but I'm going to also want to get depending on how long the product is, I'm going to really try to get it close to $100 as possible. And now if I'm making a bigger product, I definitely want to go much higher, but I'm just talking about bare minimum, right? Bare minimum, I want to be like at that $97 mark. That to me, that's a great price point. It's still a impulse type item. People don't have to think about it. Again, but only if my market will bear it.
Yeah, man, we have so many $97 products that sell like crazy.
Yeah, because
It
you don't
is
have to think.
insane.
Yeah.
And
So
they're not huge products. You make
no.
like the courses, they're not huge. And
Yeah, let me give everyone an idea. So if I was to, so I know a lot about SEO as an example. So
well, explain what SEO is really quickly.
Yeah, like search engine optimization, how to rank your sites very well on the internet. So if you search for a keyword term, hopefully my site comes up. So let's say one of the first steps of of doing this is you have to get your site indexed. Well, right. I know probably 5 or 10 different ways to get your site indexed very quickly in 24 hours or less. So I record all these different ways, and maybe there's 10 different videos, and maybe in total, that whole thing maybe is 35 to 45 minutes, as an example. I would sell that for $97 without question.
Solves a problem. It's quick and simple, no fluff.
And I can create it in a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
So now we have that product. So now the question is, well, how do we sell it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a couple different scenarios, and if you're going to sell it on your site, I'm going to tell you that by far the easiest thing that you can do is to make a video. And what I say in the video, number one, introduce yourself. Hi, my name's Armand Morin. Let me ask you a question. And then the question is the problem that they're having. How would you like to be able to rank your site number one on get your site indexed in Google in less than 24 hours? Right. If the answer is yes, then listen very close to what I'm about to say. And then you just explain to them what you did. I just created a brand new course that teaches you all the different things that you need to know. And let me tell you what's in that course. So then I tell them this, and this. And honestly, and then at the end, you tell them what's in it. Then at the end, you tell them, hey, and I'm telling you, this is all you have to say. I could sell this for literally hundreds of dollars, but what I wanted to do is to get this out immediately, and I want to get people's responses. And so because of that, I'm just going to let you guys have it right now today for only $97. So all you have to do is read the rest of this page and then click the button and then order your product today. And that's it. That whole video is maybe 5 minutes tops, 5, maybe 6 minutes. But again, we're talking a simple explanation here. Right. So then underneath that, if you feel that you need text underneath, now you could just put a button, that could be fine. But if you need text underneath, then have someone transcribe what you said, that video, and then put that text underneath and just format it, adjust it, format it, and that's your sales letter underneath it in long form sales letter. So now we also need a place to buy. Well, if you have a PayPal account, perfectly fine. Just use that. Go to PayPal, log in. There's a spot in there. It says create a PayPal button, enter in your price point. It also asks you where you want to send the people after they purchase. And then you make a page where people can watch this video, you just give them the URL of that page. And you put the button there. So now you have a button, they can pay. When they pay, they go to this thank you page. And I know some people are thinking, well, don't you have to password protect that page? Yeah. Well, actually, no, you don't. No. For the longest time, for probably like a decade, I didn't password protect my download pages.
Now you tell me.
I know, because I just made them some really funky name like dnload xyz78945.html. And then I made the page so that Google wouldn't index it. So now if you're using something like WordPress, you can use an SEO plugin that says no index on that one single page that tells Google not to index it, or anyone else for that matter. So now we could do that, and we don't have to have any kind of fancy software. The other thing is, if you want to password protect it, if you're in WordPress, you could put one simple password, right? The password is 374812, and type that in, and that's it. So you could password protect it like that with no extra software. So then the next step is we have to market it, right? So how do we market it? If you have social media, post it to all your social media pages, step one. Number two, if you don't have social media, fine. Let's find someone that is marketing something similar, and let's see if we can approach them and see if they would market our product. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't have any affiliate software. Well, how do I do that? Well, duplicate your page, name it their name, and so it'd be like yourdomain.com/John Adams. Yeah. So they go to the John Adams page, make another PayPal button that has John Adams special. And now everyone that orders through that one PayPal button, you can see in your PayPal account, and that's how many sales that they got. So you don't need anything ridiculously crazy or anything like that. So now, you can now, go to other people. Yeah. A lot of people are going to say no. There's no doubt. I mean, the majority. But one or two people is going to say yes because they see, hey, this is something that my market would need. I think this would be a perfect fit. But you just don't stop. You just keep on asking. What I did, I think this still applies today. Of what I did when I first launched my first ebook. Okay, way back then.
To get affiliates, you mean?
Yeah, to get affiliates and everything. What I did was I went online. Now again, remember this is like mid 1996, maybe close to 1997. So I put together this ebook, which was an exe file at that time, which is only worked on Windows. But anyway, so I found a list. I went and I thought, well, I don't want just to get sales. I want people that can make sales for me. So I had an affiliate program. Okay. So I found a list of newsletters in that market. Okay. And I found a list of people that had newsletters. So then what I did was I messaged each one of the people that had the newsletter and said, and this is basically what it said, hi, my name is Armand Morin. I just created this product called Take Online Payments. And, I think this would be great for your market. Here's a free copy of it. I gave them a copy. If you think it's good, I'd love it if you would promote it to your newsletter. And here's a link to sign up for our affiliate program. And that was it. And so they had to, before they could sign for our affiliate program, what we did is we had them opt in. They give us their name and email address so we know how many people we had. Yep. So when they did that, I could see how many people we had. So in the first week, I set up 500. Okay. And again, I gave 500 free copies of my product, just to clarify. I told them, hi, my name is Armand Morin. You don't know me, but I just created this product called this. It teaches this, and here's a link. Done. So out of 500 that we sent, we had, I think it was 170 people that actually signed up for our affiliate program.
That's not bad. Wow, those are good numbers.
Yeah. Again, I know I realized that this was, again, way back when, but still, the idea was that I sent out to people that had a list that could get me more than one sale. That was the key. I gave away my product to, as a good faith measure to show them how good it is and how confident I felt in it. And then I offered them to make money by referring it to their list. So you could do the same thing with blog owners. You could do the same thing with people that have newsletters. Again, newsletters, you can do the exact same thing that I did. Message them one at a time, and don't bulk mail them, but send them a message one at a time. Right. And you could contact them and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Here's a free copy of my product for you to check it out. And I think this would be good for your people. And you'll get some of those people to say yes. So now you've got an affiliate that's not only promoting one time, but maybe they're going to get multiple sales, especially if it's a blog. If they put a banner on the side, they might keep that up forever.
I have no doubt that could work today. I mean, with all of the bloggers that are out there, the influencers, the Instagrammers, right? People that have massive followings. No doubt that could work today.
Take that same method, remove the idea of website owners or newsletter owners and put in Instagrammers, influencers, right? You could do the same thing. Yeah, sure. But again, expect everyone to say no. That's what you have to do. But you're going to find out that some people that you thought were going to say no actually say yes. So again, that promotion could be just a simple thing, but you have to be proactive. Remember, you don't have the luxury of having a list. You don't have the luxury of spending money on advertising, at least immediately until you make money. So you have to figure out ways to market without any money. And so how can you do that? Well, go to popular forums as an example. If you go to a popular forum, you're not going to spam the forum. So let's get that out of the way. Right. Don't do that. You're just going to get you kicked out. But what you can do is join the forum, contact the person who has posted a lot to the forum. They might have 1,000 posts and saying, hey, I noticed you post a lot to the forum. I just created this brand new product called this. Here's a free link to it. If you think this is good, it would be awesome if you could just put a link to it with your affiliate link in your signature file on the forum. Okay. So here's the thing, what most people don't realize. So if I have 1,000 posts that I made on this forum, those posts might get read multiple times each throughout the whole week or the day. now if I change my signature file, it retroactively changes my signature file on all the posts that I made.
So now you've got tons of links and thousands of people reading that signature file potentially. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Beautiful.
Or you can go to Facebook groups. And so this is a method. We still use this to this very day. To this very day, we use this. When I'm having an event, a seminar, what I will do is I have my team go into Facebook, and they'll make a list of all the Facebook groups that are appropriate for us. And in Facebook, you can see how many people are in the group. So you can see they have 100,000 or however many people. We'll contact all those people that are specific to what we're doing, like an event or something. And then we'll go to the owner of the group and we'll say, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. And we're looking to promote this event. And we'd love to give you, for example, if it was a live event, I say, I'd love to give you a free ticket to come to the event. And, and I'd love you, if you could post a link into the group. The number of people that say yes are crazy. It's a simple scenario, but you could do the same thing with a product. You could do the same thing right now just by contacting people. You just don't want to contact, go overboard with it. You don't want to contact like 100 people. You want to keep, on Facebook, you want to keep the number under 30 people per day.
Gotcha. Smart.
That's the number. And what we did is we actually set up like 10 different Facebook accounts and then kept the numbers actually lower than the 30. We went to like 20 on each one of those and then had someone log in with each one of those. And we do monitor it to see if anyone does respond or anything like that. But we did that so that we can contact several people per day.
Very cool. So now at 20 per day, you got 10 accounts. That's 200 a day now.
Correct. That we could potentially contact. So if you think about the different keyword phrases of the groups that you could search in Facebook, we can contact a significant number of people based upon the different keyword phrases that might be appropriate for whatever it is that you're promoting. So yeah, I mean, it's like that. I mean, you could do the same thing any other place that has groups. You could do the same thing on LinkedIn. You could do the same thing on any place that has a group type of system is just go there and contact the people that have that group. So it's just a simple idea, but if you can get behind a person that has 10,000 people in their group and they'll put a post in there for you, all of a sudden, that's awesome.
Yep. You get instant awareness almost. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, so if you're watching this, Armand has given you pretty much a treasure chest of ideas. There's no limits, especially, when it comes to starting a business, getting started, having the desire and being able to start with almost nothing and take that to a point where you're doing really, really well. Armand, to close this out, if someone's watching this and they're looking to follow you, where can they follow you?
Yeah, they can just simply go to armandmorin.com, ARMANDMORIN.com. You'll see there either things that we're doing. We have a lot of events coming up that actually Ty just spoke at one of our events recently called Complete Seminar, but it's actually now virtual webinars now. So we're doing a lot of things there, and then we got a lot of cool products that we're getting ready to come out with as well. So you can just go there.
Very cool. Very cool. Make sure you go in and sign up for his list. Is there a sign up form on your site?
Yeah, if there's not, there will be in a couple seconds.
All right. Make sure you go in and visit his site. Sign up because he's always got some amazing things. And as you just heard from this interview, there's a wealth of information coming from Armand. Things that I think that if you are not able to take something from this interview and apply it, then you definitely did not hear any of what was said over the last 90 minutes or so. Let me know in the comments box, what was your best takeaway? What was your biggest aha moment? What was your golden nugget? And that enters you in to win some of the cool prizes that we have, like the Apple AirPods, the Apple Watches. We've got the MacBook Airs that are over here, the computers. And then last but not least, we have the Amazon gift card. So go ahead, comment right now, like, share this video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, you can go in and comment and like and subscribe as well. And each of those actions will enter you in to win one of those amazing prizes there. Armand, this has been incredible. I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of great experiences with you and your audience, and we might have to do a part 2 here because I feel like there's a lot more that we can go into.
We can do that, man. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Stay well.